Alright, so this is after one coat of the House of Color Intercoat Clear, and this is a base coat clear. It's not a top coat clear. It's a big difference. And you can see how it's a little bit speckled. So according to the instructions, you are to go with a 500 wet sand and then spray a second medium coat. So that's what we're about to do here. Got the sandpaper in there, getting ready to do a little wet sanding here, and that's going to smooth out all these surface imperfections and kind of hide some of the height differences, you know, between the stripes. When you start looking at, you know, the drop-offs, should start leveling some of that out. So we're gonna wet sand this for a minute and go back and spray a second coat. Okay, so just to show you here, when you're doing the wet sand, what you're trying to do is basically scuff down those high points in that clear coat. You can see everywhere that it's kind of turning dull, that's the high point. And so when you go back over with that second coat, it's going to fill and actually level out much smoother. So I've just done this section right here, and you just want to use light pressure, you know, nothing serious. You're basically just trying to, again, just scuff that top surface there. So just real light. You don't want to work it too hard, because again, you're just trying to cut down any surface imperfections. So yeah, that's all you need to do right there. Alright, so we're back in the booth here. We've got both bodies flat sanded down to 600, and we're going to be laying down our second coat of the House of Color. We've got the gun dialed way back here to about, looks like about 10 to 15 psi. So we're going to go ahead and spray the second coat and get it on nice and good here, and then we'll proceed with the decals. Alright, so we're pretty much done with the House of Color Intercoat, and now I decided to move on to locating these holes for the volume pot, which was relying upon getting the graphic done, and I didn't want to cut the hole too soon and then find out that the markings were off. So I've been kind of working on the premise that the graphics were right, and now I'm just locating the placement for the pot there, actually using the volume knob in the wear pattern here that I'd already cut out based on the stripe pattern. So just put a piece of tape across there, measured, then drew an outline to find dead center of the knob, traced around that, and then measured half the distance there, and yeah, drilled my center hole. So when you flip this over and check the tiny hole, which you should start with, then if I lay the top of that shaft right there, you can see when I go ahead and drill the rest of it out, it's just going to be right up against there, which is exactly where his was. So, all right, so the EVH low friction volume pots are now installed. Basically, you just want to graduate your way up to that 3/8 size drill bit. Slowly I started with that center hole and then gradually increase the size of the drill just to get it up to that 3/8. I actually you saw me lay that piece of tape there just to keep from splintering really bad, which actually helped. So yeah, all right, we got the volume pots in, and I think next we're going to start looking at possibly headstock decals. So I think it's about time. All right, so this next part is going to get a little tricky. So we're going to take this step by step and apply these waterslide decals. I've got two here, one for the other neck, and basically just to give you some idea, out of the package it looks like that, and I've just trimmed it down just closer to the letters there. So what we're going to do is submerge this in a bath of water, and let me get a little towel ready to go here just to kind of dab it if we need to. So I'm going to hold this in the water. I've got a product here called Microset, And this is just something to help with the with setting the decal and allowing the decal to move a little bit till you get it in position. It also helps with the adhesion. Made by the same company here as the micro mask that I used earlier. So let's see here. We're going to brush just a tiny little bit of this on. You want to get that kind of in the area that the decal is going to go, so that way it's underneath. And then we are going to let this go. If you've ever built model kits, you know what these are. They basically, they curl up in the water, and then they start to slowly unroll as the paper gets wet. Flattening out here, so we're going to give this a whirl. I'm going to move my iPad where I can see it just for reference here for placement. I think it might need just another second or two back in the water. So it's wanting to go off that way. This is where that microsec comes in handy, because it gives you a little extra time to kind of position it. And honestly, I think we're right exactly where it needs to be. So I'm literally just going to brush out the excess water. It's one of those things you just want to take your time, be gentle. Anything that you do like this, when you apply force, something generally goes wrong. So you just want to take it easy. I'm just going to put a little light pressure to help get all of the water out and to kind of set that glue. The brush just helps apply a nice, light, even pressure. Now the instructions from the place I purchased these said to let sit for approximately 4 hours to dry before applying any sort of a top coat, which you need to do. Alright, well there's one neck with a Kramer logo. Again, we're going to put this aside and let it dry. But it turned out pretty good. Pretty straightforward process there. So moving on to the next one. Alright, so the second one went on just the same as the first. No problems, no issues. Everything is set and now drying. You probably noticed that this first neck here is the one that has a little more relicking on it, and that was kind of by design. This one here will actually get similar relic treatment here in the upcoming days. Once everything is completely dried, and I think I'm going to add it to the top of the top clear coat that we're going to put on the final step. So yeah, headstocks are done. As far as the decals go, we're going to be working on putting the stars on. So all of this will be underneath a layer of clear coat. There you go. Decals are all on, both headstocks. And again, this will all be buried under clear coat, so just for that extra protection. All right, so moving over to the body, we're going to go ahead and get the stripe or the star on. And this is a little tricky, so I've kind of got it propped up here. I also trimmed down that extra paper around the outside of the star just so I can kind of see where the points are before setting it. This is also kind of one of those deals where you just gotta kind of trust your judgment on this, and you can look at all the photos in the world, but when it comes down to it, you got to make a decision on a lot of this stuff on you know, how you interpret certain things. You know, if the stripes don't line up exactly perfect, you've just got to make a judgment call on where you think these would have been, or anything else for that matter. But I think that's pretty darn close. And I'm using the no bozo shot here as reference for placement, and looking at a couple other replicas. So it really is all there is to it. Ooh, just kicked the tripod. So when you peel these stickers, these 5150 EVH store stickers, it has a hard, or a thick, kind of a cardboard paper backing that they're on, and then a thinner, kind of a, it's almost like a tracing paper almost on top. When you peel them away, the decal, the front side of the decal sticks to the thinner paper, so you're discarding the thicker backing, and then that way you have your adhesive side up. And then after you lay it down, then you peel the top off. Like so. So yeah, that's it. Body number 1 and number 2 are done, and the headstocks are done. The only thing that I've got left to do now on these bodies will be these. So, and then these are kind of the finishing touch here. So I'm going to be extra cautious, take my time, and you only get one shot at these. Alright, so moving over to the 5150 decal, and I don't know if you watched the last video update or not. I think it was number 10. I talked about this paper template. It's either 9 or 10, and where I found this was on just some Japanese GeoCity site. And the nifty thing about it was that it has all the measurements for where the bottom line of the decal goes, and also for the post hole. So basically using this to line up with the Floyd post holes, and I'm placing just a real light piece of that green fine line tape down just as a guide. You obviously need to use these original photos as your reference, but this will definitely keep you from making a really drastic mistake here. So again, that's just a guide. I'm not going to go all the way down to that. I need a little extra room, and to kind of make it a little easier, I've cut out some of that extra paper that is around the border here, just so I can see those stripes a little easier. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this, and we'll get this started. think I'm committing. Start from over here so you can see a little better. That was a little nerve-wracking, I ain't gonna lie. Because it's such a key focal point. There it is. I think it turned out good.